Of all of the terrible movesets in Gen 1, Scyther might actually have been the one that got the worst treatment from the devs. In spite of the fact that this Pokemon is ranked 35th out of all 151 Pokemon, with a 420 base stat total, very nice, it has arguably one of the worst Gen 1 movesets that exists on any Pokemon that can actually learn TM moves. Because in Pokemon Red and Blue, it doesn't learn a single same type move. Yeah, Wing Attack, that wasn't added until Pokemon Yellow. In Pokemon Red and Blue, this Pokemon can only learn normal type attacking moves, which means that it can't hit ghosts unless it specifically uses Bide, which is terrible because this Pokemon doesn't have great defensive stats or HP, or it has to use Mimic, which is only available after you have completed all of the Silph section. That means that you usually end up in this absolute nightmare where you simply can't knock out even the first channeler in Lavender Town without grinding massive numbers of levels. That's why Scyther was one of the few Pokemon that actually got a moveset update between Pokemon Red and Blue and Pokemon Yellow, and by Gen 2 it was really refreshing to see this Pokemon actually get some decent treatment by being one of the gym leader's aces and getting access to a really thematic move, Fury Cutter. Because while yes, it's only 10 base power, it doubles in power every time you use the move up to a max of 160, and it allows Scyther to take advantage of its 110 base attack and 105 base speed to get those hits on opponents and start building up its power early in the fight, eventually giving it a chance to sweep. But this raises the question, how much better would Scyther be in Pokemon Red and Blue if it actually had access to a move like Fury Cutter in the original generation? Well, I've got a ROM hack today that we're going to test out and see exactly how it goes. So will this Pokemon be as improved as Pinsir previously was with Hidden Power Bug, or is it going to still be an absolute nightmare when we get to Agatha? Let's get into it and find out. So today, as we step outside of Pallet Town, it turns out that Professor Oak was talking to GSC Pokemon Challenges when he was here a couple weeks ago, and GSC taught him a thing or two about the future of the Pokemon games. So he's got a Scyther ready for us with a very special move to test it out. We are going to get the Mantis Pokemon right here in the Bulbasaur ball that will put us up against the Charmander line for the entire run. But we're coming in with Quick Attack and Fury Cutter on the moveset. And today we're going to roleplay a little bit as Bugsy and see just how good he could have been in the Gen 1 games. First things first though, we've got to take on the rival, and let's see how Fury Cutter actually works in this situation. We are of course against a Charmander, which resists the move, so we do 1 damage with the first hit, but then we can see 2 damage after that, and we're going to start building up our power. Even when he growls, it's not going to mean that much to us. We easily get through even with Fury Cutter strats because of the fact that it's same type and it builds up over time. So with the rival going down nice and easy, we can move on in this challenge where we're going to be playing with a Max DV Scyther today. Because the real goal here is just to see how much better this Pokemon could have been if it actually got access to a same type move. And quite frankly, it should have a pretty big impact on the run. Number 1, in Gen 1, Poison is weak against Bug, which means tons of opponents throughout the game are actually going to have more type weaknesses against this move. So if we can build it up, it's going to give us a pretty big advantage on Koga and Giovanni compared to our normal moveset. It's also going to be neutrally effective against Ghosts, which is the biggest impact I think it's going to have on the run, meaning that Agatha might actually be possible on something close to minimum battles. Speaking of minimum battles, this move might actually even give us a chance against Brock since we can build it up, and if we get enough defense curls from the first Geodude, that may be all that we actually need to get the KO then on the Onix. Still, this is all speculation at this point. I haven't tested it fully. I did a little bit of testing to make sure that the move was working properly, but that's it. We're just going to have to see how it actually goes. Now, I have done 1 Scyther run previously on the channel when we did this Pokemon in Pokemon Yellow, and even then, it had to grind a ton to get through Brock, but once it got through, you could get to Swords Dance, you could get Wing Attack, and that was enough to get you through the rest of the game, whereas in this case, we're not going to get Wing Attack. So Fury Cutter's basically our only move against the Ghosts as we go through this one, and while it is same type and it's going to do decent damage once it builds up, we do still have to land multiple hits on our opponent before we're going to be be able to take him down. So we see even a Weedle did about half damage to us. Still, we get to level 6 as we're getting ready to go out to Brock on minimum battles, which is significantly lower level than you'd normally be able to take him on with only quick attack. We're going to have to see how this actually goes. It might still be impossible at this level, or it might just be insanely luck-based. Let's get into it and find out. So Brocky Boy, attempt number 1, he leads off with his Geodude. I'm going, of course, for Fury Cutter here. It's our best move. And he goes Defense Curl turn 1. Now we can see we did 2 damage with the first Fury Cutter. And of course, we're going to have to build it up a lot here. He did 7 damage with a tackle. We really don't want to see too many tackles here. And we're hoping that we can just keep building up our move. We finally get a critical hit with the move all the way built up to knock out the Geodude. Very nice. I have programmed it so that critical hits are calculated based on the increased power of Fury Cutter, so keep that in mind. And now as the Onix comes out, he goes Bide, but we do over half with a critical hit Fury Cutter here, and 2 more hits is going to be enough to knock it out, but it unleashes Bide energy and takes us out just before we could get the chance. If it had just bided 1 more turn, we would have gotten the victory there. So I'm going to reset on this one. Let's try this one again. Now, it should be noted that if he just goes all in on tackle with the Geodude, we are guaranteed to lose here. So we really don't want to see too much of that. And critical hits do ignore his defense buffs, which is why the crits do so much more than our normal hits here. So now, once again, against the Onix, we are all the way down to 7 HP, but he goes Screech this time, and that does give us the ability to knock that Pokemon out. So 2 resets there for our Scissors to manage to beat Rock, and that is enough to get us to move on in the game on minimum battles. 7 minutes, 9 seconds to get through with our Scyther. It's definitely not perfect, but possible in order to win that fight with the Fury Cutter here. And I think that 1 reset overall, considering that we're on minimum battles against Brock, is pretty darn good. And with Brocky Boy done, that's actually one of the biggest walls in the entire run out of our way, nice and easy, because now we can make our way over to Misty, where her ace is going to be weak against Fury Cutter. So hopefully we'll be able to just build it up enough on the Staryu in order to completely wreck her. And for any situation where Fury Cutter isn't effective, we've got Quick Attack, which is also going to be pretty strong. So I'm basically just going to go for Fury Cutter in situations where I think I can build it up and start sweeping. Otherwise, I'll go for Quick Attack in order to just deal as much damage as possible. Now, I will be staying as close to minimum battles on this one as possible. Of course, if we find an absolute wall, we will consider taking some optional battles at that point. But for the early game, I honestly don't think it's necessary. Most of these Pokemon are weak enough that once we get Fury Cutter built up, even if they do things like boost their defense, we're still going to be able to get through them eventually with the powered up move. Now, it's also worth noting that I actually tried this run in Pokemon Yellow when I ran into an error where I was actually getting like damage overflow or underflow, whatever it turns out to be. So I had this situation, I was all the way on the champion at the end of the game, and I had built up Fury Cutter completely on the Sand Slash because it would only use Poison Sting against me. So I got to the point where it was fully powered up and I could knock that Pokemon out. However, when I got to the Alakazam, a Pokemon that was weak to the move, I used Fury Cutter and it did like 10 damage. And I was like, what is going on? It turns out that I had not properly clamped the damage to prevent some like weird overflows that then result in the opponent taking no damage. I may post that video up for the channel members at some point, but basically this is actually round 2 of attempting this. Still, I think Pokemon Red and Blue is the better version for this challenge because of the fact that it's actually harder for Scyther normally, and I'm really interested to see how it's going to go, given that the champion is going to be leading off with that Pidgeot, which could be pretty tough in this one. Still, that's a lot of speculation about future battles. For now, let's stick in the here and now. We've made it to the Super Nerd. I think Fury Cutter's going to destroy his team. Here we missed the first Fury Cutter on this Grimer though as it goes pound. We hit the next one and fortunately it disables Quick Attack, so we can keep using Fury Cutter here. It's going to be a 3-hitter on that Pokemon. Voltorb comes out next. We do over half with the first hit and knock it out on the next one. We get to level 14 as the Coughing comes out, and at this point Fury Cutter's completely built up, so we just get a 1-hit KO and we can pick up the Dome Fossil since we know it's the superior fossil and now make our way out of Mount Moon. But now that we get out of Mount Mount Moon, we have to decide whether or not to try Misty first or to try the rival. Of course, Misty's blocked by a junior trader using a Goldeen that knows Peck, so it might be a little hard, but I'm actually going to come into the gym and at least try it once, just because the rival has that Pidgeotto that loves to sand attack, doesn't know any flying type moves, but the accuracy drops could really affect us. So let's try this one first, and then if it doesn't work out, we'll go to rival number 2. It should be noted that we do have the YOLO Bide strats here as well if we absolutely need them, since Bide always hits when it returns damage, so that could be a strategy if we get really desperate due to accuracy luck, but I'm going to avoid that for now. Let's just see how Misty actually goes. So Misty attempt number 1 right here. I'm just going to start building up Fury Cutter on the Staryu. It's going to evenly split between Tackle and Water Gun here. It's 3 levels higher than us, but we are faster at this point. We do get a miss from the Fury Cutter as she goes for X Defend though, so we're doing a little less damage than we otherwise would here. We still managed to get through that Pokemon with 12 HP remaining as Starmie comes out. It goes Water Gun though, and that ends us. I think if we hadn't gotten the miss though, we might have had better luck getting through with more HP, so let's just try that one again. Round 2, we instead get a critical hit as well as a miss on turn 1, so we're all the way down to 3 HP as Starmie comes out, but she goes X Defend here, and we nearly score the one-shot. I'm going to go for Quick Attack, and that allows me to end it. So we beat Misty on the second attempt in spite of worse luck on the first Pokemon, because the X Defend kind of punted there. Remember, X Defend doesn't matter when you get a critical hit. So 15 minutes, 21 seconds to get through Misty with our Scyther. Hey, I'll take it. We've got 1 reset per gym leader so far, but really not too bad. And now we're ready to go up north. We're all the way at level 16 at this point, so we're pretty close in level to most of the rivals Pokemon. Plus, we're going to get free setup on the Abra. As long as we can get through the first Pidgeotto without too many accuracy drops, we will be able to build up some Fury Cutter there, and that might be all that we need. So let's get into this and see how it actually goes. Rival 2 attempt number 1. I'm going to start off with the quick attacks on the Pidgeotto because I just want to knock it out as quick as possible. We do get sand attacked once here and sand attacked even a second time. It does miss a third sand attack, fortunately, as we get to level 17 here, but that's still not great. Still, Abra can't do anything against us, so I'm just going to sit here and spam Fury Cutter until we knock it out. Let's see if we can land a Fury Cutter on Rattata. We do, and get a critical hit. It goes Hyper Fang on us. But then the next turn, we get a critical hit and knock that Rattata out. That brings out the Charmander. Fury Cutter is all the way built up, so even though it's resisted, it's technically stronger here than Quick Attack. Of course, if it misses though, we have to switch into Quick Attack because that's the only good move. He even growls against us, and we're just missing everything as we go down on the first attempt. So clearly, it's all about accuracy on this first Pidgeotto. We do have a really high critical hit chance, so I'm hoping that we get some crits here and maybe knock this Pokemon out a little faster. Instead, it gets the crit, and we've gotten an accuracy drop, so we're probably losing this one as well as we get on very low health here. We do finally manage to at least knock it out, but I'm not too confident against the rest of the team, especially because Gen 1 accuracy drops are way worse than future Gen accuracy drops. And this is always one of those spots where when I see people do, speed-based solo challenges in Gen 1, I always think it's so much easier to do them in Pokemon Yellow than Pokemon Red and Blue, just because there are far fewer situations where the first Pokemon's just lowering your accuracy like this. Still, we get a run where we manage to get through the first Pidgeotto with no accuracy drops. So in this case, I'm just going all in on Fury Cutter. We get a critical hit one-shot on the Abra. We get a nice crit on the Rattata as well. Hyper Fang's taking us down to very low HP here, though. Still, he doesn't have Smart AI in this version, so if he doesn't go for a damage-dealing move, we can in fact knock out the Charmander. The whole issue is that the rival doesn't get Smart AI until he gets to Rival 3. This is still dumb AI. He's just randomizing, so he goes Growl and Leer with the Charmander, just punting on what was a guaranteed victory. I guarantee he's going to learn from that mistake, though. The next fight is going to be far worse than this. We're going to have to see how Rival 3 actually goes. But for now, we should have no issues as we make our way up north to Billy Boy's house. So let's just go show him the Pokemon we got from the reverse time capsule. capsule. In fact, I like to headcanon that perhaps we're the reason why he actually installs the time capsule in Gen 2, because he's trying to get this Scyther back in the Gen 1 times. Now, unfortunately, due to confusion, we actually knock ourselves out on the final rocket at the end of this section, so we actually do have to take a reset here. That, of course, sends us all the way back to the beginning of the Nugget Bridge, so we're taking a bit of a time loss because I didn't think I would need to save before the rando rocket there. Next attempt we get through just fine though, so we're ready to move on in this section, though I will heal very quickly just to be safe as we make our way up to Bill's house. Now, one other thing to note is that I did program this so that because Gen 1 wrap mechanics are different than Gen 2, wrap will break up Fury Cutter. So each time that this Onyx uses bind on us, it is actually resetting the power of Fury Cutter here so that we're actually less likely to be able to knock it out. I think that's the way that it actually would have behaved in Gen 1, which is why I programmed it that way. Still, after that, with no issues, we make it to Billy Boy's house. He's going to run into the closet to do a little bit of research on the time capsule because he knows now that he absolutely needs to get his hands on this. Like, what kind of Pokemaniac does not have a Fury Cutter Scyther on their team? So he's gonna give us that SS ticket to send us off for a while he can figure this whole thing out. Probably the next time anybody sees him, it will be GSC Pokemon challenges pulling up an Ekritique. Still, with that done, we're ready to make our way down to rival number 3, which could actually be a really tough fight in this one, given that he does have smart AI and he has the accuracy strats. So we're gonna have to see how that actually goes. But first things first, we'll just beat up on this random innocent bystander and then make our way down south to take him on. So at last, it's rival 3 time. Let's just see if he's actually as hard as I think he might be here, or do we get through super easy? He, of course, leads off with the Pidgeotto, where I think the only strategy is to go quick attack. We get a nice crit turn 1, and we're going to get a 3-hit KO with no accuracy drops. That's perfect. As we get to level 23, Eradicate comes out. I'm going to start building up Fury Cutter here. Yes, Hyper Fang does a lot, but it's just a 3-hit KO on that Pokemon. Kadabra comes out and gets wrecked. Finally, a move that actually is just an answer for all Psychic-type Pokemon. And that brings out the final Charmeleon, which does have Smart AI, so it's only going to go Ember here. Still, we're going to try the Fury Cutter, seeing how much damage we can do with it. We managed a lot of damage there. We maybe just need one more hit. Let's see if Quick Attack gets the job done. It does. So with 6 HP remaining, we do manage to get through the rival, and we're ready to move on in the game. Now, normally I would come here and test my skills against the Trash Man, since we know that he does like to punt on some fights, but this is Pokemon Red and Blue, where his final Pokemon, the Raichu, only knows electric-type moves and Growl. While yes, we could probably build up Fury Cutter enough to knock it out, I think it's our better decision to make our way to Erica first, since she's going to have a severe type weakness against this Pokemon, and her smart AI, using the term very loosely, is actually going to cause her to want to use Poison Powder against us with her first Pokemon, effectively giving us at least one more turn to start setting up. So I think that's actually the better way to progress in the challenge. Tell me if you disagree in the comments, but for now, let's just go fight the Wrapping Lass and make our way to that Rock Tunnel Hiker, where I think Fury Cutter is gonna put in some serious work. And of course, we make it to the Rock Tunnel Hiker with no issues whatsoever. You'll notice that my moveset has updated, where I have now added the move Double Team. My rule is very consistent on this channel. I allow Double Team when it is learned via level up. And in Gen 1, the only Pokemon that learned that move via level up are Scyther and Pikachu in Pokemon Yellow. That is it. So they are the only Pokemon that can technically use this move without any sort of penalty from me. Still, we're going to avoid that if at all possible, but it does allow the badge boost glitch later on, and maybe some situations where we could win an otherwise impossible fight, so just understand that's why it is on the moveset. Still, here, I'm going to stick with Fury Cutter. Let's just see if it gets us through the Geodude. Instead, it blows up, so we take a lot of damage, and we're going to have to start building up on this second Geodude that does massive damage to us. So we make it to the Graveler, and it goes boom, and we lose. Clearly, we should have used some Double Team. Still, I'm going to try this again, even without going for that move, because I was kind of unlucky to get 3 booms in a row. Though we can see Rock Throw does over half to us as well, and we do not one-shot the Geodude, even after we build up the Fury Cutter here, we do make it to Graveler again, and we do knock that Pokemon out. That was the 5th use of our Fury Cutter, allowing us to get the maximum amount of damage. So we get through on the second attempt. Is it perfectly consistent? No. Are you going to be in a situation where you might be tempted to use that double team that's on the moveset? Maybe, but we didn't ultimately need it to get through that one. And with that, we're ready to get out of here. Let's move on to Erica, who I think will be super easy, and then we'll just kind of have to decide what we want to do. Do we want to glitch for a cause in this one, or are we going to try to get all the XP that we can get because we might actually need it? Now in this one, I will be making sure to pick up as many items as I can to sell for money, because one of the standard strats for a Scyther in the very late game, except for Agatha, is to use Swords Dance with Hyper Beam, a set that could very much help us get through some of the toughest fights in the game. And it's on that basis that I do think I will go into the Rocket Hideout in order to pick up the items that are in there, including another nugget that I can sell for money. But before I mess with any of that, let's just go beat up on Erica and see how much easier she is when you have a strong-ish same type bug move on a Scyther. So Erica attempt number 1, she leads off with the Victory Bell, but in this version, it does not know the move Acid, so we don't have to worry too much here. She's just going to go for the Poison Powder. I'm even coming in damaged here. But let's see what Fury Cutter does. This is a 2-hit KO on that Pokemon with a crit at least as we get to level 28. Tangela comes out next. We do about a third with the first Fury Cutter there. It goes Constrict, and then we just barely miss knocking it out with the next hit. Still, it goes down nice and easy. That brings out Vileplume, which is 4 times weak to Bug in this version. It's not until Gen 2 that Bug was no longer super effective against Poison, so we just one-shot there. As we get to level 29, we get to learn Slash right here. I'm going to learn that over Focused Energy in this one. I'm actually going to keep Quick Attack for now. And with that, 38 minutes, 56 seconds to get here. It's certainly not a speed run by any means, but we are getting through gyms on minimum battles without really too much difficulty. I mean, 6 resets so far, a couple random ones, but really it was Rival 2 that caused us to take the most resets up to this point. Really not too bad. And it turns out that Erica, you can come in even not fully healed and still get a pretty easy victory in this one. So now let's just go into the Rocket Hideout. Let's beat up on some of those guys down there and just get access to the items that we want to sell for money. Now, it's worth noting that in a standard solo run, if you just pick up all the items and sell them for money, you can easily afford Hyper Beam by the time that you get to Rival 5 and Silphco. So by that point, we will be changing up our moveset in order to have the most efficient routing possible, but it's going to take just a lot of extra time running around to pick things up and then coming here to buy all the coins, which takes a small eternity in Gen 1. And without too much issue, we make it to Giovanni here at the end of the Rocket Hideout. So let's just beat him up, get the Sylph Scope, and then we can make our way over to Lavender. So he leads off with the Onyx, and he does have Smart AI, so he's just going to go for Rock Throw here. Our best play is to start building up the Fury Cutter, hoping that he misses some Rock Throws and lets us build up enough damage. Sure enough, he misses a bunch of times, and it's a 4-hit KO on that Pokemon. Rhyhorn comes out next. We get a 2-hit KO range with Fury Cutter there, and that brings us to the Kangaskhan as we get to level 31. We go Fury Cutter and get a one-shot with it completely built up, so that was nice and easy getting through Giovanni. We can pick up the Sylph Scope and now make our way over to Lavender and Rival number 4. Of course, he's going to have quite the team at this point because he's already going to have the Gyarados as well as having the Charmeleon that resists our Fury Cutter, but I think Slash is going to be enough to get through here. Let's just see how it actually goes. I think after we get through this section is where I'll go and take an attempt at Lieutenant Surge as well. Still, first up, we've got the Rival. Let's see if we get the nice easy victory or not. Here he leads off with Pidgeotto. I'm just going to go Slash to knock this one out as quick as possible. A critical hit, one-shots. Execute comes out next, and this is where I'm going to start building up Fury Cutter. He does no Hypnosis, but he goes Barrage, which is perfectly fine. So we get a nice 2-hitter on that one. Gyarados, I think the best play is just to Slash at it. It's going to be a 2-hitter after a crit, but still not too bad. We get to level 32 as Kadabra comes out. I guess Slash is just fine here. And that's going to bring us to the final Charmeleon, which also gets one-shot by a Slash because we're 7 levels higher. We are still on minimum battles, so that's the level you're going to get here at. It's one of those things where I kind of find it funny sometimes, of course, with like Nuzlocke being so popular, people are always obsessed with level caps, but there are a lot of cases where on minimum battles in Gen 1 and Gen 2, you actually can't get to a trainer on minimum battles at lower than the level of their ace. It's actually impossible in some situations. So, take that for what you will. We get a move on, and now we got to take on the first of the channelers. Now, this is usually where this run becomes completely terrible, because you basically need a couple of Nightshades from these Ghastlies to return enough damage with Bide to actually knock them out. Whereas here we can see that Fury Cutter gets a 2-hitter on the first Ghastly, and then it just one-shots the second Ghastly. So we go from having a fight that's borderline impossible on normal circumstances with a Scyther to being insanely easy here once you have Fury Cutter. And since that's the only channeler who has 2 Pokemon, I think the rest of them are going to be pretty easy here. Let's just make our way up to the top. But to stay on even more minimum battles, we're going to go ahead and deal with Ghosty Mama here by just giving her a nice little dolly. Glitch for a cause, guys. Glitch for a cause. That allows us to get through that fight without an additional battle that wouldn't have made us any money anyway, and we can get up here to the top and beat up on these rockets to get a little revenge for Ghosty Mama, where I think Slash basically is all that we really need here. These fights should be pretty darn simple. And with that, we can save Mr. Fuji. He's going to take us downstairs and give us a flute and tell us all about how great things used to be when people would just play the flute all day. But we're just going to kind of ignore him, and let's go beat up on Lieutenant Surge, because I'm pretty sure at this level with Slash, we're just going to completely wreck him. We should already be faster than everything on his team, if I recall correctly, so this really shouldn't be a bad fight at all. So after digging through the trash for a massive amount of time, it's time for the trash man. I'm just going to go Slash on the Voltorb, getting a 1-hitter. That brings out the Pikachu. We slash and one-shot that Pokemon as well. Raichu's out last. Slash just one-shots with a crit, so we completely destroy him. 55 minutes, 19 seconds to get there, but again, this isn't like a super fast run. We're picking up all the items to sell for money, but the real measure of how much better we're doing is the fact that we only have 6 resets up to this point while still staying on minimum battles. And as the trash man congratulates us on a victory, we're just going to go ahead and look in the trash can here to remind us the motto of Vermilion City Gym: there's only trash here. Still, I'm going to take this opportunity to just pick up all the items that we can sell for money from inside of Silphco as well. And then we'll make our way down to Koga and the Safari Zone, because that will just complete our little quest to get all of the items that we need to get access to Hyper Beam, at which point I think this is going to be a pretty smooth run from there, but we'll see if it actually works out that way or not. We actually level up and get to learn Sword Stance here via level up, so we don't even have to get it via TM. And I'm going to learn this move currently over Quick Attack. Slash will be replaced pretty quickly, so I think this is the best way to go, because I think once we have Sword Stance strats, we're going to be able to set up to sweep everything, either with Sword Stance into Hyper Beam or by setting up a whole bunch of the Fury Cutters and using that to knock our opponents out. Still, we'll have to see how it actually works out when we get to that point, but I'm going to keep Double Team on the moveset, like I said, just as a kind of YOLO strat in the end, because who knows, we might reach a point against Blaine or somebody where we actually need it. And sure enough, we have enough coins now to get access to Hyper Beam by selling all those items, and I'm just going to slap this move on over Slash, just because I know it's going to be the late game strategy anyway, and it will synergize much better with our Swords Dance. We could have kept Focus Energy to try to lower our critical hit chance in order to use Swords Dance and Slash together. That's actually a strategy that I used when I did Scyther previously in Pokemon Yellow with its normal moveset, but even in that one, by the end of the game, I was relying on the Hyper Beam strats, so I do think it's just worth getting the move right now. But with that added on, I'm going to make my way down to Koga, because I'm really interested to see when we build up the Fury Cutter to full power. Of course, it's stronger than Hyper Beam if we can just manage to chain together the hits, plus it's super effective and same type. So it's going to be by far and away the best move that we can use here if we can survive the onslaught of all of his poison type moves. So how is it actually going to work out? I'm very interested to see. Let's get there and find out. So Koga attempt number 1 here. I'm actually going to set up Swords Dance once here at the start. He hits a Smog and poisons me, but it didn't do that much damage. Now I think we can start setting up the Fury Cutter with our attack stat already increased, and it's going to be a 3-hitter on the first Coughing. Still, we get through. That brings us to the Muck. We miss the Fury Cutter here, and Sludge destroys me. Still, let's try this one again because it may just be a situation of deciding whether or not to set up how many Swords Dances here, and I think eventually we can get this one to go. Still, since this Coughing really doesn't do that much against us, it might be worth setting up even multiple Swords Dances here, though Sludge does a lot more damage, which makes me think we have to be even more YOLO on this attempt. Still, with all the Swords Dances set up, it's just a simple 2-hit KO on this Pokemon, but then we have to miss the Fury Cutter, of course. Hyper Beam might just be one-shotting at that point though, and that's probably the better strategy. Still, I'm just interested to see how this actually works out if I do all the setup here. We do manage to knock out the Coughing this time. We make it to Muck, where we get the 1-hit KO after setting up all the Swords Dances. We one-shot the second Coughing. That brings out the Wheezing. We hit the Fury Cutter and one-shot. So once we do manage to get everything built up, it's pretty easy to get through Koga. You just need to not miss, and it's a 5% chance, of course, with the move, but still not that unreasonable. An hour, 3 minutes, 34 seconds to beat the 5th gym leader. 8 resets so far, but considering we had a couple resets there against one of the toughest gym leaders for us, given our type disadvantage, it's really not too bad to be able to get through Koga. Granted, I expect Blaine to be far worse, so I'm going to make my way back to Rival 5 and Sabrina at this point. Let's see if we can get them out of the way, and then we'll go down to Cinnabar and try to take on Blaney Boy. Hopefully still on minimum battles at that point, but we'll see if it actually works out or not. So as we come into the Rival 5 fight, he does have Smart AI and leads off with that Pidgeot, so it's basically going to be using Wing Attack, which is super effective, of course. Even though it is only a 35 base power move, I expect it to do pretty decent damage here. So the real question is, do we go for like a Swords Dance Hyper Beam to get through that first Pidgeot? Is it a situation where a critical hit Hyper Beam gets us through? And then after we get through the Pidgeot, can we set up enough in order to sweep the rest of the team? We're going to test that out, so let's get into this and see how it actually goes. So first up, against the Pidgeot, like I said, it's only going to go Wing Attack here because of its Smart AI. I'm going to try setting up one Swords Dance and then going for the Hyper Beam, and that does get the 1-hit KO on that Pokemon. And in Gen 1, when you one-shot with Hyper Beam, you do not have to recharge the next turn. So now I'm going to start setting up Fury Cutter on the Execute. It's going to go for the Poison Powder here. Still, we will be able to knock that one out. Gyarados comes out next, and then with that being in hindsight, I should have just gone for Hyper Beam on that Execute. We do get the 1-hitter there. Alakazam's out next, and we just destroy it with a Hyper Beam. Charizard's out last. Hyper Beam does one-shot. So we managed to sweep the entire team thanks to Swords Dance Hyper Beam there. I don't think we were going to get through with just the Fury Cutter strats, but hey, we'll take it. We managed to progress in the game, and now we can make our way to Giovanni. I think we've got everything we need for him, but let's just check how he actually goes. It's worth noting, since I'm gonna carry Hyper Beam till the end of the game, I'm actually gonna throw all of my PP ups into that move so that I can just use it more efficiently without having to go outside and heal up. So Giovanni attempt number 1 here. I'm just going to start setting up Fury Cutter on the first Nidorino. He's only going to go Poison Sting here. We get a 2-hit KO on that Pokemon. Kangaskhan's out next. A critical hit didn't do that much, but I think once we get built up, it's going to be fine. We get to level 40 as the Rhyhorn comes out. We'll just stick with the same strategy. It's a 2-hitter, and that brings out the final Nidoqueen, which we just one-shot thanks to its weakness to Bug. So with that, we're able to get out of here. We're just going to pick up the rare candy. We don't actually need any more items at this point, given the fact that we've already gotten access to Hyper Beam, and I don't use vitamins in my runs, so there's no reason why I need to get, for example, the Carbos that's right there. Instead, we'll make our way out and go straight to Sabrina, who is finally going to have to face a strong physical attacker using a super effective move against her, and we might be able to get a pretty easy sweep through the team as long as we build up the Fury Cutter. So let's see how this actually works out. So Sabrina attempt number 1, she leads off with Kadabra. I'm just going straight into Fury Cutter here. We get a critical hit. It's going to be a 2-hitter here as we take a massive Psychic. Still, we knock that Pokemon out. Out comes the Mr. Mime. This is going to be a 2-hitter as well, but it goes for the Light Screen. We get to level 41 as the Venomoth comes out, and this is going to be a 2-hitter, but it goes for Poison Powder, and then we have to miss, of course. Still, I'm going to stick with Fury Cutter here as the Alakazam comes out because I want to see how the move does. It goes Recover right there, and then it gets a Gen 1 miss with Psybeam, allowing us to get the victory. Oh, Generation 1, the perfect game. An hour, 9 minutes, 33 seconds to get through Sabrina. Granted, we would have just crushed the Alakazam if we hadn't gotten that miss, but it's worth noting that if we don't set up a Swords Dance there, it's not like we're just one-hit KO sweeping the entire team once we get built up. We still needed 2 hits on that Venomoth, and once you get a miss, of course, you're in kind of bad shape. Still, the victory is a victory, so we'll take it. Still 8 resets up to this point, but now we have no choice. We have to go take on Blaney Boy, since he is the only trainer available on minimum battles. Still, it's way farther than you would normally get with a Scyther on minimum battles, especially in Pokemon Red and Blue. So while it's a slow run at this point, it's definitely a situation where this Pokemon is outperforming its normal performance in a solo challenge. Now for Blaine, my game plan is going to be to go in, set up as many Swords Dances as I can on the very first Growlithe, and then just hope that I can knock everything out with a whole bunch of Hyper Beams here. We'll see if we can get the sweep or not. We will have quite a few rare candies in the bag if we need them, but we're going to try to get through this one on minimum battles because I think after that we're going to be just fine against Giovanni. The rival is going to be the rival. Lorelei is going to be tough, but then we might be smooth sailing from there. We'll just have to see. Of course, if we could learn Tombstoner, it would be a 100 base power version of this Fury Cutter, so it would be massively overpowered. Still, we're just going to have to try to get through with what we've got right here against Blaine. So Blaine attempt number 1, we're going straight for Swords Dance on the first Growlithe. It hits Ember. Looks like we may be able to get all of our setup off here. And remember, we're getting badge boosts in speed as well. As long as it doesn't crit, I think we're good to go. Now we'll Hyper Beam this Pokemon down, getting the 1-hit KO. The Ponyta comes out next and gets destroyed. We get to level 42 here. We could learn Agility via level up. I will not learn Agility. I don't think we need it. I think we have enough speed already. So now for Rapidash, we just go Hyper Beam and one-shot, and we're faster than the Arcanine, so we can just go Hyper Beam and miss, only for him to use a Super Potion on max health. But then we get a critical hit, unfortunately. That means we don't one-shot the Arcanine, so we do have to take a reset. Man, Blaine tried so hard to punt on that fight, and unfortunately, we just had to get the miss. Still, this is clearly a winnable fight without that critical hit, so we're going to reset here and try this one again. So once again, we get back to Arcanine on the second attempt, and this time, no critical hit, so we managed to win. 1 hour, 13 minutes, 33 seconds. Blaine really isn't that hard in this one. It's just a matter of crits. Crits ignore your stat buffs in Generation 1. So when you're on +6 attack, you really do not want to see a critical hit. And it's clear that since the critical hit did about 90% to that Arcanine, that if we had any non-crit, it would have been a 1-hit KO. So Blaine turns out not to be that bad, thanks to our speed advantage and the fact that he leads off with the Growlithe, allowing us to get the victory. Now it's just time to go beat up on Giovanni. There are 2 randos that we got to take on in the gym, but they're not going to be a factor, I don't think. And Giovanni himself in Pokemon Red and Blue has like one of the most disappointing movesets in the entire game, because he doesn't know a single rock or ground type move except for his Doug Trio running its ground type moves, but they're not going to be able to affect us anyway. So we don't really have any major threats here. If this were Pokemon Yellow, we'd actually have a much harder time getting through this gym because he would be using some super effective moves against us with 3 of his Pokemon. Still, I think our best strategy will be to build up Fury Cutter in this fight, so I'm going to try to set everything up on the first Rhyhorn. Let's see if that actually works out though, and then just see if we can sweep through the entire team. So Giovanni attempt number 1, we're going to just lead off with 3 swords dances against this first Rhyhorn. It tries to horn drill us, good job. And then Stomp really didn't do that much. We get a defense drop from Tail Whip, but that did give us a badge boost in attack. And now we're going to start building up Fury Cutter. It's going to be a 3-hitter on that Pokemon. Dugtrio comes out next. They can only damage us with Slash. We really don't want to see a Sand attack here. Unfortunately, we get a Fury Cutter miss. Still, I'm going to stick with Fury Cutter because this is the only good move that we have for the final Rhydon. In spite of the accuracy drop, we did manage to knock that Pokemon out. We get through Nidoqueen as well, getting to level 44. Now we miss on the Nidoking, and the accuracy drop is a problem, but he's only going to go Poison Sting here. Still, we get to the Rhydon without our move fully built up, and there's only 1 PP remaining, and then he stomps me down. So clearly the miss was a factor there. Let's try this one again though, seeing if we can get through that Dugtrio without a Sand attack. So next attempt, we're back to Dugtrio. We hit the Fury Cutter in just 1 shot this time. That brings out the Nidoqueen, which we still don't want to hit KO after a crit, but it's just 1 more hit to knock that one out as we get to level 44. We do 1-shot the Nidoking without a critical hit, bringing us back to the final Rhydon on much higher health. And here we nearly 1-shot with the Fury Cutter. I'm just going to use it again since it's more accurate than Hyper Beam, allowing us to get the victory on Giovanni on the 2nd attempt. So now we're 17 minutes, 9 seconds to get through that. Really not too bad. We have made it up to 10 resets as we get through the 8 gym leaders with 1 TM learned. So still pretty solid for a Pokemon that normally would have grinded quite a bit just to get through Brock, then would have had to grind a bunch in order to get through those channelers in Lavender Town. But instead, with this Fury Cutter, we're progressing on true minimum battles here, at least as far as rival number 6. Let's see how he goes. I believe once again he's only going to go Wing Attack in this fight with his first Pokemon, which should allow us to get some setup, and then maybe the Hyper Beam Sweep is the way to go. So first up on the Pidgeot, I'm just going to start setting up my Swords Dances here, and I think I'm going to go for all of them because he does have the Rhyhorn out next. After that, Hyper Beam just 1-shots that Pokemon. Let's see if we can 1-shot Rhyhorn or not. Sure enough, we do. Executes out after that. We 1-shot that Pokemon. Gyarados, we can stick with Hyper Beam, getting the easy victory. Alakazam is slower and gets wrecked. We get to level 46 as Charizard comes out, and the Hyper Beam destroys it. As long as we don't get any crits there, which we didn't in that one, we managed to just 1-shot sweep the entire team. I think that's basically going to be our strategy on the champion. We'll see if the Rhydon puts a damper on that, but the Rhydon doesn't know any Rock-type moves again in this version of the game. I think that the rival could have been significantly better if he just had better movesets on his Pokemon, and I always felt like the rival should just be able to learn the TMs that would be available up to the point where you meet him in the game. So like I always headcanoned that the rival should be able to know like Body Slam on the SSN. He should be able to know things like Thunderbolt and Mega Drain when you get to him in the Lavender Tower. Rival 5 should already be rocking things like Ice Beam and Psychic, etc. I think he would be much better if he just actually made use of the TMs that are available throughout the game. Instead, he waits to add on any TM moves until the very end, and then he only adds on Sky Attack to the Pidgeot and like 1 same type TM to his ace Pokemon. Still, we'll just try to play his style with only 1 TM for this entire run. If we can manage to get that to work, I'm going to feel pretty good about this challenge overall. But now, because this is a minimum battles challenge and we are trying to beat the game with as few battles as possible, even if it takes a little more time, I'm going to pop over here to the power plant to get access to 1 more rare candy and an additional PP up. We can drop that PP up into Fury Cutter just so that we have a little bit more in case we get a miss in a random fight and we just need more PP to actually set it up properly. We saw with that first attempt against Giovanni that once some of the misses stack up, you can run out of PP in that move, and we'll just see how this actually works out. As previously mentioned, a fully built up Fury Cutter is going to be stronger than Hyper Beam. So in neutral situations, we would actually prefer to use that Fury Cutter if we can get the setup. Some trainers probably won't allow it though, especially Lorelei, who's here right up first. She might be a nightmare. We might need to drop all the rare candies here, but let's see if that's actually the case. So first up, we've got to face Lorelei's Dugong, which in this version has pure smart AI. In Pokemon Yellow, it has some like randomness where it's more likely to use Rest turn 2, etc. But in this one, I'm pretty sure it just goes Aurora Beam the entire way. So I'm going to see if we can Swords Dance and Hyper Beam this Pokemon down, given that Aurora Beam did that much to us. And it's not quite enough, but she does rest in this version. Okay, now that I know that, I'm actually going to try to Hyper Beam it down again. We do get the KO this time. We Hyper Beam on the Cloyster, but their Aurora Beam simply knocks me out. Still, now that I know that, we might be better off damaging it turn 1 and then hoping that it rests turn 2 so that we can set up the rest of our Swords Dances. Let's see if this can work out or not. So I'm just going to go for the Fury Cutter turn 1 and now go Swords Dance turn 2, and I'm just hoping that it will go to sleep. If it doesn't, we'll reset, but this could potentially allow us to save our rare candies at this point. That's the reason I'm going for this strategy. This time we do get the rest, so I'm going to set up 3 Swords Dances. We did get an attack drop from Aurora Beam, so we're only at +5 here. Still, Hyper Beam one-shots. We get to Cloyster, we go for the Hyper Beam, also getting the one-hit KO. We get to level 47 as Slowbro comes out. We'll set up the Hyper Beam here. We get a critical hit, so we do have to recharge, but it just goes for Withdraw twice. Now we can go for Hyper Beam on the Jinx, getting the one-hitter, and we've made it to the Lapras. Fortunately, we put PP-ups into the Hyper Beam, but unfortunately, we get a critical hit, but then we get a miss from Blizzard, followed by a hit from Blizzard. I almost thought we would have a chance there, but I forgot about the recharge turn, so unfortunately, we lose. But it's pretty clear that the non-crit would have one-shot there yet again, so this is a winnable fight. It's just a question of how many resets it's going to take. The fact that Dugong is going for rest on turn 2 tells us that it at least has a 50-50 shot of doing that, which is why I think this is worth the resets here. This time we only get to set up 2 Swords Dances, but I think that's going to still be enough. We just missed the range on the Cloyster though, so we do actually need 3 Swords Dances in order to sweep with Hyper Beam. This time we do manage to set up and knock out that first Dugong. We get the KO on the Cloyster again. We get the one-hitter on the Slowbro. We miss on the Jinx, and that again ends us. So after quite a few attempts, it seems like we're just not getting the luck here, so I am going to slam a few rare candies. Let's get up to level 50 and just see what that does for us in this fight. Now, it's worth noting here that even at this level, we're just a 2-hit KO from Aurora Beam, so we would have to slam more rare candies to try to get a better range. But even with all of these rare candies used, I'm not sure if we're going to reach a point where we can actually survive here. But I don't think we're really going badge boost glitch strat, so I'm just going to go all in, get to level 56 now, and let's see if this affects the ranges. And at this point, we still get one-shot by a critical hit from Aurora Beam. So I think the only possible difference here is that maybe at this level we can just go for a Swords Dance and then knock this Pokemon out. We did actually manage to survive an Aurora Beam with over half health this time though. Let's see what we do against Cloyster. Of course, we missed the first Hyper Beam, and the second one, of course, does not get the KO. So we are going to need to set up 2 Swords Dances here, but maybe a non-crit Aurora Beam we can find a way to survive, since we are getting a badge boost in special when we use our Swords Dance. So this time we get quite a bit of setup with no critical hit from that Dugong, and now we're on +5, but we're still going to be able to one-shot everything, I think, from here. We get a critical hit on the Slowbro as well, and it goes Growl. I'm going to set up Swords Dance here because it really doesn't have any strong moves. In fact, this could be a good spot to try to set up Fury Cutter. Let's see what it does against Jinx here. It does get the one-hit KO. We're up against the Lapras now. I'm going to try the Hyper Beam to finish it, and it does get the one-hit KO as we get to level 57. So we do manage to beat Lorelei. We did drop all of the rare candies there in order to get it to go, but we are now moving on to Bruno. I expect this to be a super easy fight, but let's find out if that's actually the case. Now, of course, the biggest thing that Bruno has to offer against us is that he does know Rock Throw with the 2 Onyx, but he doesn't have Smart AI. So I'm just going to set up these Swords Dances right here on the first Pokemon. He just goes like Slam and Rock Throw and then X Defend. And now I'm going to go into Fury Cutter on the Onyx just to try to knock it out. We get a miss, unfortunately, but now he's going Rage. That shouldn't really matter. After we knock that one out, we'll just Hyper Beam on the Hitmonchan. We'll Hyper Beam on the Hitmonlee as well. Going back to Fury Cutter on the second Onyx, but unfortunately it Rock Throws me down. So we actually lose to Bruno here because he actually used the right move twice in this battle. Let's try this one again. The next attempt, he just goes Rage with the first Onyx, which is perfectly fine by me. I'm just going to set up the Fury Cutter here, and we can knock him out in 3 hits. We'll still go Hyper Beam on the Hitmonchan since there is a type resistance with these fighting types. We'll go back to the Fury Cutter on the Onyx, but that time we had all the Swords Dances set up, so we knock it out nice and easy. And that brings us to the final Machamp, which we just one-shot. So really not that bad getting through Bruno, and now we're ready to go take on Agatha. And this is the single battle that you really want the Fury Cutter for. I think everything else we could really just get through with Hyper Beam strats, but here against Agatha, she is the one that you couldn't use that, and there's literally nothing else on the Pokemon Red and Blue moveset to use here. Since Wing Attack wasn't on the moveset in this version of the game, you'd be trying to mimic something and then destroy her from that. You'd really be hoping she swapped in the Golbat turn 1, let you mimic the move Wing Attack, and then set up a bunch of Swords Dances and knock her out. We'll see how this actually works out though with the Fury Cutter, given that it is going to take quite a bit of time to build up. This might still be a nightmare battle. So Agatha attempt number 1, I'm going to set up Swords Dance first, even though, of course, if we hit ourselves in confusion, that means we're going to deal more damage. We get put to sleep and Dream Eatered here by the first Gengar, and 2 hits with a crit is all it takes to knock us out. So we can see that clearly you're not going Bide strats here, and we're going to need much better luck than that to get through here. This time she swaps to Golbat though, and while we do get confused and hurt ourselves in confusion, it then goes for Haze, resetting all of our stats. I'm going to try to set up the Swords Dances still. We managed to get all 3 set up, only to then hit ourselves in confusion and get Nightshaded down, so clearly not great. We're going to have to try this one yet again. And it's really the Confuse Ray that's terrible when you're trying to set up Swords Dance. Still, we managed to get all the setup here, and we did pretty good damage against that Gengar. It would just be a 2-hit KO if we could actually stay awake and manage the hits. We get through this time. I'm going to stick with Fury Cutter on the Golbat just because we really want to keep using this move. We get confused again, but we knock it out. We get to the Haunter, and there we knock ourselves out in confusion. So we definitely need to get better luck than that as well, but that's kind of the story of Agatha. Especially with a Swords Dance user, it's just always terrible here because of the fact that she can do things like Haze, she can do things like Confuse Ray, and you hit yourself and deal more and more damage to yourself when you hit yourself in confusion. And we're not just going to one-hit sweep anything here. Like, yes, Hyper Beam would be great for the Golbat and Arbok, but the rest of the Pokemon, we would need quite a bit of luck to knock them out with the Fury Cutters in this situation. A couple attempts later, we do manage to get through the first Gengar again, but we're on pretty low health as we go to the Golbat. Still, I managed to get the KO there. Let's see what we do against Haunter. We one-shot. That brings us to the Arbok, where Fury Cutter one-shots that Pokemon as well. We're only on +4 attack here. We didn't set up all the Swords Dances, but I'm just going to try it on the final Gengar. We one-shot with the Fury Cutter there. So once we do manage to get the setup, it is possible to get through that fight, and not even being at +6. Like +4 seems to be enough. I might have been setting up too much on that fight. It might have been a situation where maybe we just need +2 and then to build up on the first Pokemon. Still, with all the confusion there and the Haze resetting your stats, etc., it's definitely not consistent to get through that fight by any means. Just, it turns out that it is possible. Still, with that done, I think we go into Lance with the strategy just being set up Swords Dance and go into Hyper Beam and Sweep. We should just be fast enough, given that we are on max DVs here, to outspeed the Aerodactyl. And with that, I think we're going to get a pretty easy win, but let's see how it actually goes. So we're basically going to go Lance strats here with the Hyper Beam, but first things first, we got a Swords Dance. He just Dragon Rages turn 1. Hydro Pump is going to do a lot turn 2. Please don't hit me with another Hydro Pump. He misses a Hyper Beam. That allows us to just one-shot the Gyarados. We get to level 59 as the first Dragonair comes out. We one-shot it with a Hyper Beam. Second Dragonair also gets wrecked. That brings out the Aerodactyl. We are 11 points in speed faster than this Pokemon. We Hyper Beam, and it gets a critical hit, and Bite crits us to knock us out. Still, Aerodactyl doesn't know any flying type moves, so I think as long as we get there and don't get a crit, we're we're just going to one-shot. So we're basically just banking on, please, no crits in this fight. Again, I'm not sure if setting up all the hyper beams is just overkill on this one, but I'm going for it just in case on that final Dragonite. I really want to one-shot that Pokemon if possible. Here we get the Hyper Beam miss, but the Dragonair's Hyper Beam doesn't knock us out, so we get to knock that one out and get back to Aerodactyl. This time, no critical hit, so we one-shot, and we get to the final Dragonite. We crit, but it goes Agility, then Barrier here, and he now Hyper Potions. We get another critical hit and have to recharge, and then he Hyper Beams me down. He was all the way down to 16 HP remaining. Unfortunately, we just couldn't manage to get the KO on the last Pokemon. Yet again, though, it's just about not getting the critical hit. This is one of the places where you would argue instead of double team, I should have just kept focus energy since I could lower my critical hit chance. We haven't used the double team in this entire run. Yes, I know that could be a strategy if we really get desperate, but I'm avoiding that if at all possible. But yeah, it might actually be a situation where you would much rather have that focus energy. So in this one, we missed on Aerodactyl and got hit by Takedown, but we're all the way down to 1 HP remaining, getting to the final Dragonite. We hit the Hyper Beam, and this time no crit, so we win. We get to level 60 as we beat Lancey Boy, and we're ready to move on now to the champion. The champion is actually incredibly interesting here because he's going to lead off with that Pidgeot that knows 3 flying type moves now. It's going to know Mirror Move, Wing Attack, and Sky Attack. And we really wanted to use anything other than Wing Attack turn 1. I think if we can manage to set up even one Swords Dance, we can probably just knock that Pokemon out with a Hyper Beam. That's at least my game plan going in. I'm just going to Swords Dance turn 1 and try to Hyper Beam it down. If that works, then we should be able to knock out the Alakazam. Then we could finish our setup on the Rhydon since it doesn't really have any threatening moves. Let's see if that actually works out though in this first attempt. So champion attempt number 1, we're going to lead off with Swords Dance turn 1. He starts glowing. That's just fine. Let's Hyper Beam and we get the one shot. That brings out the Alakazam next. We'll just Hyper Beam here. We don't want to take a Psychic or a Psybeam. And now on the Rhydon, I'm going to finish my Swords Dance setup. He just misses a Horn Drill and then he tries to go Leer. So that's perfectly fine by me. I'm going to now go into Fury Cutter since it's the best move I have against this Pokemon. We get a 3-hit KO. We'll just destroy the Exeggutor with Fury Cutter after that. Now for Gyarados into Hyper Beam. That's a one-hitter. We get to level 61 as Charizard comes out. We miss the Hyper Beam and it gets us in a Fire Spin. Still we get released, but we miss again, so we simply go down. So the champion, we got all the way to the last Pokemon only to get that miss. So I think this is clearly winnable. It's just going to be a matter of maybe a couple of resets. So attempt number 2, this time he mirror moves the move Swords Dance. That's perfectly fine. We're still just going to knock this Pokemon out and do the same on the Alakazam. I think the strategy from last time was exactly the strategy that we need to use on this fight. And here he's just badge boosting us with the Rhydon, so we don't really have too much to worry about here. Exeggutor should again just be a one-hit KO with the Fury Cutter. Hyper Beam misses on Gyarados, but it goes Dragon Rage, allowing us to just knock it out the next turn. We get to level 61 again, and on the Charizard, this time we one-shot, allowing us to get the victory. So the rival, he says, no, that can't be. You beat my best. Yes, clearly. Scyther with Fury Cutter. Is it a perfect Pokemon? No, but this is massively improved from a normal Scyther solo run. Don't worry about that time. I'm not speed running here. This is more about the fact that we got through on minimum battles. Yes, we had 41 resets. I definitely could have gotten some of those off on Lorelei by just using the rare candies earlier. Agatha is going to be random no matter how you do it though. And the bug flying type really isn't that great in a lot of cases. It has a lot of type weaknesses to go together with not getting a ton of strong same type moves. Like even if you got the strongest same type moves of both types in Gen 1, it wouldn't be a moveset that you'd be super proud of. I mean, like what, Drill Peck on the flying side is the strongest Gen 1 flying type move effectively, because Sky Attack you have to charge for a turn, and then basically Twin Needle or like a 5-hit Pin Missile are the best that you can do on the bug side. side of things. So these two typings, generally speaking, are just really weak in Gen 1 in terms of their available movesets. So adding Fury Cutter here isn't really that OP, but it still takes Scyther from being a Pokemon that can't even beat the first gym on minimum battles, can't get through Lavender on anything close to minimum battles, has basically no shot against Agatha on minimum battles, and it becomes a minimum battles champion. But of course, the rival is going to complain, why did I lose? And I do feel a little bad for him. He did manage to beat us once, and we even lost to Bruno in this one, which tells you that the Pokemon's definitely not perfect, just much improved. So we're going to accept the fact that we have beaten him with one reset here and make our way now to the Hall of Fame, where Professor Oak is going to say, okay, well, now try to do the same thing in Gen 2. Anyway, that was a whole lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I had a blast making it. Like I said, I'll probably share my failed attempt at implementing Fury Cutter previously in Pokemon Yellow with the channel members, so stay tuned for that. And tell me if there's more runs like this that you guys would like to see. It's a fun challenge sometimes to try to backport different move effects to the original Gen 1 games. It's something that I don't see enough with people who are backporting Pokemon to these generations. Like, generally, if they do backport moves, they're like the super easy moves to backport, the ones that don't have a whole lot of like unique effects or things like that. But because Gen 1 and Gen 2 are built on the same engine, technically you can backport the moves. You just have to figure out how to put it into the assembly. So I may be doing a few more of these as we go forward, just for my own enjoyment and fun, but hopefully you guys enjoy them as well. Let me give a massive thank you to the channel members, to everybody who watches till the end. Appreciate you guys very, very much. I am planning to possibly do a live stream for the holidays, plus my birthday is very, very nearby. So keep your eyes posted on the channel posts for that. But with that, I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you in the next one. Later.